Stand up, New York Giants fans. Take two. Just going to do a quick live. I'm not going to be live for hours. Let me know how the mic quality is coming in. I think I know what happened in the last video, but I listened back to the video, which I should have done before I posted it, and I heard the audio was coming in really muffled. I think what happened was mid-video or before the video, without me realizing, because I went back into the program a second time, it switched to my computer mic, and I was talking into this mic, and that's why it came out as crummy as it did. So just let me know if the audio is coming out okay, guys. I don't think it was the cord in this instance. I'm buying a cord today, though. I'm not even messing around with that. But, yeah, it's good. So I think that's what happened. I think, like, mid-video, it switched from this mic to the computer mic. And I saw it after I posted. I'm like, oh, crap, that's horrible. So I apologize. This is a video that I always look forward to doing every year, doing the prediction video. So you guys will get to see me do it live now. And I apologize for anybody that's watching the replay, and it's not my traditional start to a video. But I wanted to make sure that I got it out properly with the proper volume and everything else, and went over the roster and my I guess, prediction and why I have the predictions that I do. I did see right after I started going live that the New York Giants I already knew about a few of the cuts, but they've made some additional cuts. So waived is Kevin Atkins, Darren Evans, Donovan Jeter, Colin Johnson. He's the most notable guy. James Robinson, which I think we kind of expected, even though he played well last night. Tayshaun Bauer, Brandon Bryant, Corey Cunningham, who stinks, Julian Davenport, and Jaden Mickens, and then on reserved injured. So you have to figure he's not going to make the initial 53, even though a lot of people thought he might have for special teams purposes. Of course, he got hurt last night. Bryce Ford Wheaton. None of those guys are on my final 53, so they're all still alive, the guys that I'm predicting. Yeah, and I expect a lot of these cuts. I thought Colin Johnson was kind of on the bubble. The fact they haven't put Wan'Dale Robinson on injured reserve leads me to believe that Robinson is probably, I don't know this for a fact, obviously, but probably going to make the initial 53. Now, he may not start the year. Maybe they stash him there because they know he's not going to miss 6 games, because a lot of times, I think at the start of the year, if you put him on the PUP, they have to sit out the first 6 games. So they may say, all right, he's going to recover for another 2 or 3 weeks, and then we're going to get him into his role. But it leads me to believe that Wan'Dale will more than likely make the initial 53, which is what I predicted in my prediction. But we're going to go over all of it in this video. What's going on, Afghanistan? What's going on, Lizzie? What's going on, Bill? What's going on, Matt C? Let's do it. Let's do the video right now. You're going to see me do a video live. You're going to, as if I always do it in one take, sometimes 2 takes. So you're going to see me do it live. So this, I guess, this is a different experience for you guys. Let me just pull up the slides. Here we go. Let's do it. One take, guys. Whoa, what is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, we're going to go over the New York Giants roster prediction. Of course, the season starts in just 2 short weeks. NFL season actually starts in 10 short days on Thursday Night Football. The Giants, of course, will be playing on Sunday Night Football in their biggest game in the last 10 years, I think, to open a season, going up against the Dallas Cowboys. So they only got about 2 short weeks to figure out what they're going to do with this roster. And on Tuesday is the roster deadline. There's already been a lot of notable cuts, which I went over a couple of minutes ago with the chat in the live stream. And now we're going to try to figure out what the Giants are going to do once they go over their final 53. I'm sure I'll have another video recapping it. But I think a lot of the names that I'm going to say is going to be the majority of the 53. Now, don't get too set in stone with these names, because I could only go off of what's currently on the roster. The 53 names that I have to choose from, right? I think the Giants are going to go out. They're going to scour the market. They're probably going to pick up 2 or 3 other players, whether it be a defensive tackle, whether it be a cornerback, whether it be an edge. Obviously, we know that they have a lot of deficiencies on this overall roster, specifically on the offensive line. I think they could use some depth there, so we'll see. So I don't think this initial 53 will be the final 53, if that makes sense. I think 1 or 2 of these players probably will be kicked off before the start of the year. We see it happen every single season. I'll respond to the chat after, by the way. I recognize I'm live, but I want to do the video. So I'm going to go over my 40 locks before we get into the final 53. These are kind of like the 40 guys that I feel would be absolute shockers if they didn't make the team, that we kind of all know are going to make the team. We'll start with the quarterback position. That, of course, is Daniel Jones, and that's Tyrod Taylor. To me, that's as easy as it gets. Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter bring up the name DeVito. Listen, I like DeVito. He's a great story. He's played admirably so far in camp. He's played great, and hopefully he gets that opportunity for the New York Giants eventually to become that quarterback too. At the end of the day, Tyrod Taylor is the more experienced player. He has a full year playing from within this system. That goes a long way. The job for a backup quarterback is, if the starter goes down, to basically come in and not lose you the football game. I think Tyrod Taylor gives the Giants the better chance this year to not lose them the football game. What's ironic is last year, there was a lot of debate and argument amongst Giants fans on Twitter, on my channel, on other people's YouTube channels, whether or not Tyrod Taylor could push Daniel Jones to become the starter, which was always outrageous. But I just find it funny. A year later, suddenly there's talk about DeVito potentially supplanting Tyrod Taylor. In both instances, I think that side is wrong. I think the clear QB1 is Jones. I think the clear QB2 is Tyrod Taylor. DeVito more than likely gets added onto the practice squad, and he's probably a guy that the Giants envision, if he further develops, could become the QB2 in 2024 for a much cheaper price tag than a guy like Tyrod Taylor. But we'll see. Running back, Barkley, Breida, Gray, easy peasy for me. I think those three are all locks. Barkley, the best playmaker on this team. Breida, of course, did a pretty good job as a veteran last year for the New York Giants when he got an opportunity to step in and be the backup. And Gray, the fifth-round draft pick out of Oklahoma, who actually looked really good last night. It was the first time that we really started to get to see him have a little bit more of an expanded role. They used him a lot as a pass catcher, had a couple of 7, 8, 9-yard plays in the pass-catching game, had a couple of nice runs where he broke some tackles. It was definitely Gray's best performance of the preseason. And at some point this year, I think it's incredibly likely that he's probably going to become the RB2 for this New York Giants football team. But of course, that remains to be seen. We'll see how it all plays out. But I think those are the three locks at the running back spot. Special teams, we don't got to go over. That's Gano, Kreider, Gillen. Offensive line, 5 locks are the starters. That's Thomas, Bredesen, JMS, Gawinski, and Neal. Azudu definitely going to make this team as well. Of course, the third-round pick last year out of North Carolina. I think they'll go with the veterans to start the year, and Azudu may replace one of them at some point as the year gets going along. We all know the depth is really weak here, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Giants add somebody from another organization onto the back end of this roster at that position. But right now, I think those are the 6 guys that are clear, the clear 6 guys that are making this team. Then tight end, Waller, Bellinger, Cager, 3 locks, easy. Wide receiver, Slayton, Hodgins, Hyatt, and Campbell. We'll start with the tight end. The top 2 are simple. Cager, the reason why I think he's a lock, one, they're definitely going to go 3 tight ends. The other guys that you could argue here are Tommy Sweeney and, of course, Chris Myrick. I do think Myrick suffered some kind of injury last night, if I recall properly. But regardless, I think the guy that is the best natural fit in terms of a guy that could potentially replace Darren Waller. Obviously, you're not going to replace Darren Waller, but a similar skill set in terms of being a playmaking tight end, a pass-catching tight end. I think Cager fits that bill, and I think that's why he's inevitably going to make this team. Of course, we all know that Waller is a guy that carries a big injury risk at the tight end position. So that's the way I see it playing out. I think those 3 are locks. The wide receiver, Slayton, Hodgins, and of course, Paris Campbell are the 3 locks in terms of the guys that are going to be projected to be the starters when the year starts. Along with that, of course, Jalen Hyatt, the 3rd-round pick out of Tennessee. He's shown glimpses here in the preseason. I think he will have a more expanded role as the year goes along, but I don't expect him to be an opening day starter. Defensive line, Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Nacho, Robinson, and Jordan Riley. The easiest positional group on this team, the deepest positional group on this team, they're all locks. Jordan Riley has looked fantastic throughout preseason. I cannot believe that the New York Giants, and I'll pull it up in a second, I cannot believe that the New York Giants got Jordan Riley in the 7th round of this year's draft. I think he's going to have a role with this team. He's obviously not going to start, but I think he's going to be in the rotation, if not week 1, at some point this year. That looks like a steal of a draft pick for Joe Schoen. I absolutely love that pick for Joe Schoen and the New York Giants. But the depth, I mean, you look at the depth on this D-line, I mean, it is scary compared to last year. And that's going to allow Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, I think, to have career years for the New York Giants. That's the way I see it playing out. I think that's our strongest positional group, and I think those 5 are clear locks. Linebacker, you're going to go edge, you're going to go middle linebacker here. You're going to combine the 2. That's Ojulari, that's Kayvon Thibodeau, that's Jihad Ward. Those 3 are clear locks. Ojulari and Thibodeau, of course, being the starters. Ward, a veteran that played here last year, has some familiarity within the Wink Martindale scheme. Then you have Okereke, McFadden, Simmons. Simmons is a guy that, at least yesterday, in our first look of him, granted it was only 5 plays, definitely appears to be a guy that the Giants plan to use as much off the edge, if not more off the edge, than at the linebacker position. But he's a versatile player that you could do multiple things with. They used him a lot as a blitzer off the edge. You know, he's capable of dropping back in coverage, but I think those 6 guys are clear locks. And then the cornerback and safety position, I had 8 locks. That's Adoree Jackson. I think this will be his final year as a Giant, but he's the clear cornerback 1 going into the year. Deonte Banks, who looked fantastic in the preseason. fantastic. For all the crap that he got in training camp, I mean, he looks like a first-round pick in every sense of the word so far. We know he's going to go through his bumps. We know he's going to struggle, right? He's going up against some of the best wide receivers in the league. Cornerback position is very hard to transition into the NFL. But he's got the speed, he's got the size, he's got the coaching. There's no reason to think that Deonte Banks can't be a very good cornerback in the NFL. Hawkins, the surprise, the talk of training camp, the guy that came out of nowhere, the guy that you said to yourself when you saw the highlights of training camp, how in the world did Hawkins drop to the 6th round out of Old Dominion? I got a chance to talk to his coach. Well, that was a really exciting interview. I'm a fan of Hawkins. I think he's going to have a big role for this team right out of the gate. Adoree Jackson probably going to line up in the slot against Dallas because of CeeDee Lamb, and that's obviously their number one weapon, but I think that's what you got to worry about most there. In addition to that, you got Flott, who's been kind of disappointing. We were all hoping going into the offseason that he was going to be the guy that kind of took the bull by the horns at that slot cornerback position. Hasn't quite done it. It's why you've seen Adoree Jackson get some reps there. It's why you've seen Hawkins get some reps on the outside, but he's still clearly going to make this team. He was the youngest player in the NFL last year when the New York Giants drafted him. I think we have to remember that. He was only 20 years old, so you got to figure Flott hopefully could mature as the year goes along. He'll make the team, but he may not have much of a role or as much of a role as we thought he would before the year started. McKinney, Pinnock, the obvious starters at the safety spot. Pinnock has been fantastic in training camp. He's looked good in the games, and I think he's the most overlooked move last year by Joe Schoen. Everybody, of course, talks about Hodges, which was a magnificent move, his best move in terms of a waiver wire acquisition. But one guy that got overlooked was Pinnock. Going into the offseason, I think a lot of people thought after we got rid of Love that Belton may take over that spot, being that we drafted him in the 4th round the previous year. Pinnock obviously looked great. The one-handed interception, came up with a pick in the game, has looked really good. All reports are he is going to be the starting safety opposite McKinney. So we'll see how he plays this year. But to be able to get him off waivers, and the Giants benefited last year because they were choosing very early. I think we were 5th. In the waiver selection, and a lot of people were surprised that the Jets cut him because of how deep they were at the position. The Giants were able to take advantage of that, and now they have a starter at a very cost-effective price. Then you have Belton and, of course, Owens, the day 3 pick by the Giants this year, who you have to figure will make the team. I think his biggest contribution will be on specials. So those are my 40 locks. Like, all those guys, like if you told me, Chris, on Tuesday, one of these guys aren't going to make the team, I'd be like, you're kidding me, right? Like, there's no way that one of those 40 guys don't make the team. Maybe there's a surprise due to injury with one of those individuals. Who knows? But I think those 40 guys are safe. Then I went to my final 13. And I think most of these guys are close to lock, or at least some of these guys are close to locks too. My final 3 wide receivers, especially after the Bryce Ford-Wheaton injury last night, which now has put him on injured reserve. And this is before I found out this information when I made the video. Now we found out that Colin Johnson has been cut. So all that being said, I think you're starting to see the tea leaves fall into place. I think Wan'Dale's going to start on the 53-man roster. Otherwise, I think he would have already been put on injured reserve, but we'll see. That's still a major question mark. The question then becomes, if Wan'Dale doesn't make the team, do they roster 6 or do they roster 7 wide receivers to start the year? But if Wan'Dale's ready to go and he's going to be put on the initial 53, of course, he's making the team. In addition to him, I have Sterling Shepard, and of course, I have Cole Beasley. Beasley's still a little bit iffy because he dealt with some injuries late in the process, but you got to figure a guy who's 34 years old, a guy who has ties to Brian Daboll, probably wouldn't have came here in the first place if he didn't have some confidence from the coaching staff that he stood a very good chance to make the final 53-man roster. And even if Wan'Dale makes the team to start the year, I think Beasley probably will get his reps until Wan'Dale is fully ready to go. You got to remember, Wan'Dale hasn't played in any preseason. He's practiced at a limited capacity. So I don't think Wan'Dale is going to have a very big role, if at all, to start the season. If Beasley's ready to go, I think he takes Wan'Dale's role in the offense, at least to start the year, as they ease Wan'Dale in. And I think Beasley gets that game-winning touchdown against his former team week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. Running back, easy peasy for me. If they go 4, they may only go 3. I think that's kind of the discussion here. Do you go with 8 wide receivers? Do you go with an extra offensive lineman? Do you go with an extra corner? Do you go with an extra edge? If they go with 4 running backs, which I think they're going to do, I think they're going to reward Joshua Corbin, the undrafted free agent last year, I believe, out of Florida State. I thought he looked fantastic. Not so much last night, didn't do a whole lot, but the 2 preseason games before that, the guy runs hard. The guy looks like he's got good hands coming out of the backfield. I think he'd be worthy of an RB4 spot on this roster if, in fact, we go with 4 running backs. I'm putting him on my final 53. Offensive line, my 3 non-locks, my final 3. Parrott, Phillips, McKeithen. McKeithen mainly due to the fact that obviously, he was drafted last year by the New York Giants in the 5th round. We'll start with that. So that's why I think he stands a good chance to make this team. He's kind of on the bubble for me, though. I could see it going to Shane Lemieux. Those were the last 2 guys I was debating from because McKeithen's been banged up, hasn't played too much in the preseason. I would not be shocked if he gets cut. If you notice, one guy I did leave off, a notable draft pick from last year, DJ Davidson, I don't have making this team. I just think we're so deep on the defensive line. I don't think he's making this team. I think he's going to be on the outside looking in. I do have McKeithen just making it. I know we're all not huge fans of Parrott, but he's probably the best swing tackle we have at this point in time on this roster. I am praying, I am begging Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas stay healthy this year, because if they do not, Matt Parrott is going to be a problem. There's no doubt about it. He's not a guy that I trust. I will give him credit. In the second preseason game, I actually thought he did a good job. Last night, though, again, a little bit shaky, just the depth in general. And I could definitely see the New York Giants making an ad, whether it be at a swing tackle or whether it be at an interior portion of the offensive line as other teams around the league cut down. But I could only go based off of what I see right now on this roster. I think Parrott makes it, along with Tyree Phillips, who, of course, got some experience last year with the New York Giants as a tackle. And he also has tackle guard versatility, something that you value in terms of the back end of a roster. So I think Tyree Phillips makes the team as well. The edge / linebacker, middle linebacker, edge, my last 3 guys that I had making the team. Beavers, he's kind of on the bubble. I think he's going to make the team, but Simmons, I think, kind of placed him on the bubble. Of course, he got hurt last year. He was a guy we were all really excited about. I think he's obviously going to have a reduced role now that we have Simmons added to this roster, because he will play at least somewhat at the linebacker position. Carter Coughlin's making this team. He was probably on the bubble before last night. He looked great last night. Was definitely one of the standouts. A guy with versatility as well. He could play off the edge. That's kind of the way they used him last night. He could also play at the middle linebacker spot. He could help you on special teams. Carter Coughlin's making this team. And then the last one for me is between Timon Fox and O'Shane Ximines. Flip a coin. I know a lot of Giants fans have wanted to move off of Ximines for a while. A lot of people were outraged last year when Ximines made the team. Ximines actually played pretty well when given the opportunity last year to start the year, to begin the year, when Kayvon Thibodeau was out. And then obviously he regressed, and he was the old O'Shane Ximines that we've become accustomed to. But I do think that's close. I could definitely see O'Shane getting the nod over Fox. That'll be interesting. They clearly value Ximines in some way, shape, or form, because they rostered him last year, even though he was with the prior regime and they had every reason to cut him. So I could definitely see that going potentially to Ximines, but I'm going to slightly lean towards Fox. I thought he looked a bit better throughout the preseason. Neither player impressed me last night. And that's another position that I definitely think the New York Giants probably are going to look around the league to add some more depth off that edge, because right now we just don't have it. We could certainly use a bit more talent there. And then my final 3 DBs, McLeod, a guy that I think could definitely contribute to special teams at the safety position. You've also got Aurier, the cornerback formerly from the Detroit Lions. Not a guy that I'm enamored with, not a guy that I'm in love with at all. But I think it's valuable in a sense to have a veteran at the cornerback position when you look at our DB room and all the youngsters with the Trey Hawkins, obviously with the Deonte Banks, the Cordell Flotts, like very young, a lot of youth there. So to have a veteran, I do think there's some value there. He's played from within the league. He did have 6 interceptions 2 years ago, I think it was, with the Detroit Lions. So I think he does squeeze onto this roster. And then my final guy is Darnay Holmes. And I actually thought, I brought this point up about a week or 2 ago, too, when somebody asked it in my live stream. I saw Duggan bring it up today, and he used the term, quote, unquote, Slaytoned. And that's what I think will happen with Darnay Holmes. We all remember last year, Darius Slayton, I should say, was cut by the New York Giants right before the year started. Or not, I shouldn't say the term cut, but the Giants went to Darius Slayton and said, we're going to cut you if you're not willing to take a reduction in pay. Darius Slayton was willing to come back, and he was willing to take less money to play with the team. I think the same thing happens with Darnay Holmes, because I think the Giants look at Holmes and they say, he's probably worthy of being on the final 53. We could use a little veteran leadership in the locker room at the DB position. He's probably not going to start, but he's probably worthy of being on the 53, but he's not worthy of being on the 53 at his current salary. We could save 2.7 if we cut him. I think they're going to go to Holmes. I think they're going to say, we're going to roster you, but you have to be willing to take a lot less money. And I think in the end, he'll do it because he doesn't have a lot of value throughout the league. And I do think he'll inevitably make the final 53 for the New York Giants. So that's my final 53. And when you put it all together, I've got Jones, I've got Taylor, I've got Barkley, Breida, Gray, and Corbin. Offensive line, Thomas, Neal, Bredesen, JMS, Gawinski, Azudu, McKeithen, Parrott, and Phillips. Wide receivers, Slayton, Hodgins, Campbell, Hyatt, Shepard, Beasley, and Robinson. Tight end, Waller, Bellinger, Cager. Special teams, you got Graham Gano, you got Kreider, you got Jamie Gillen. The Scottish Hammer. Better do a much better job this year. Defensive line, sexy, freaking Dexy. We're going to be dancing all year with him. Leonard Williams, Nacho, Robinson, Jordan Riley. Linebacker / edge, we got Kayvon, Ojulari, Ward, Fox, Okereke, Simmons, Beavers, McFadden, and Carter Coughlin. And in the secondary, the cornerback / safety, I've got Banks, I've got Jackson, I got Hawkins, I got Flock, Darnay Holmes, Oworie, McKinney, Pinnock, Belton, Owens, and McLeod. That's my final 53. I'm going to hang on with the live, but I'm going to do my typical closeout. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for the season. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and we'll see how the roster plays out as the New York Giants get ready for Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. If you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Closeout video. There you go. You guys got to see me film a video live. So there's your experience. If you donated, I think I see a couple. I will get to them now, but I wanted to do the video in sync because my audio screwed up. So hopefully if you watch the replay, there you go. You got the video. I just want to do that with you guys because I always like doing those videos. Angel, man, thank you very much, man. What's up there, King Trizzy? What's going on there? Diehard Giants fan. James Kent says he's scared of Parrot. I think we're all scared of Parrot. Angel says, on my way to the Virgin Islands and my flight got delayed 2 hours. Sucks, but at least you helped pass the time. Well, I hope you have a great time in the Virgin Islands. And I appreciate you for being here. Jason Benjamin says, I thought McKeithen looked solid pass protection. I think McKeithen's making this team, like I said in the video, because he was drafted last year by the prior regime. I think they give him another year to develop. He's been hurt with some injuries, but I think he gets an opportunity. Nick the Wick with the member chat says, stand up. What's going on, Nick? And Angel says, I rather the Doritos. I'm telling you, Angel, you know, I said it last night. I guess that's like my shocking thing. I'm not a big Doritos guy. Can't do it. What's going on, Pete, man? Thanks for popping in. What's going on, Maki? What's going on, Brad? Thank you guys for being here. Tana, do you think we get – I mean, I'd love to get Pugh. I think it would add some veteran leadership to the back end of the offensive line, but I'm going to lean no. Dire Giants fan says O-line needs to stay healthy. Yeah, the depth's garbage. I think we'll improve the depth. I think we're going to add an offensive lineman in free agency in the coming days as other rosters get down, but the depth's bad. But if you're being honest, depth around the league on the offensive line is usually not going to be very good. It's much like the quarterback position. Like people say, oh, the quarterback 2 isn't good. Well, of course the quarterback 2 isn't good. You look around the league, there might be 3 or 4 teams, 5 teams tops, where you could say, yeah, that guy could come in and they're not going to miss a beat. Probably not even that. So there's a reason that tackles get paid what they do. There's a reason that quarterbacks get paid what they do. Everybody says, oh, how did Daniel Jones get $40 million? Well, I'll tell you how. Look at Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is an above-average backup quarterback. And you could watch Tyrod Taylor objectively, and you could watch Daniel Jones objectively, and you could see there is a vast difference, a huge difference between those two players. And it's the same thing on the offensive line. There's a reason Andrew Thomas gets paid what he does. There's a reason that the upper echelon tackles get paid what they do, because there's not a lot of good ones. It's supply and demand. So that's what it is, man. Around the league, you're not going to have a lot of depth at the tackle position on the offensive line. And I think we will improve that in the coming years, because I think Shane clearly is hammering home. If you've looked at his drafts the last couple of years, he is drafting offensive linemen early and often, and I think he's going to try to improve the depth there. But for this year, yeah, they better not get hurt. If Thomas goes down, Neal goes down, JMS goes down, we're in a world of hurt, because if JMS goes down, Bredesen suddenly is going to become the center. Then you're going to insert a Zudu to the guard. Like, we need these guys to stay healthy. But I agree with you guys. If they could add a veteran at the tackle position or at the guard position, it certainly could help. The more depth, the better. We know going into the year as Giants fans, we're not going to stay completely healthy. It's not going to happen. So we need a contingency plan. We need to continue to improve this depth. And Joe Shane has shown you he's going to do that. Last year, he went out there and he kept adding throughout the course of the season to try to improve this football team. This year, he's been aggressive. He just made a trade for Isaiah Simmons. He brings in Waller. I think he's scouring the market. He probably has 3 to 5 teams that he's already identified. They're deep at this position. They're deep at the guard. They're deep at the tackle. They're deep at the linebacker, whatever position he wants to attack. And there's going to be some cuts, and he's going to hope that one of those guys seeps down to him when he's choosing in waivers. But I do think the Giants will add 2 or 3 offensive linemen to this roster, 2 or 3 players rather to this roster, one of which will probably be on the offensive line before the year starts when we get down to waivers. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. You guys have never really gotten to see that. I've never filmed the video live. So I apologize for the screw up the first time I listened to the volume the first time around. I'm like, all right, this will at least be like a little bit different of an experience. They could see me do my videos like I typically do. That's it. There's no editing. I just talk. I go on, I talk. There's no notes, nothing. I talk. Bill, man, thank you so much, dude. He says, here's my donation to the No, Bill, I'm getting it's The Wire. That video wasn't The Wire. That was a one-off. I think what happened there, I film on StreamYard, and what happened there was I filmed once and something happened. I don't remember what happened. So I had to go back into the StreamYard. And when I went back into the StreamYard, I forgot to click. Sometimes it goes back to the computer microphone, and I forgot to click from the computer microphone back to the microphone that I use. And that's what happened. So I was talking into this mic, but it was coming out of the computer mic. And I listened back. I'm like, that had to be what happened. But let me go live just to make sure that I don't have any audio issues when I do it properly. So that's the only reason why I went live. I'm like, the chat will tell me, and I want to make sure I get this video up. So it's not the mic. It's usually the wire comes a little bit loose, but in that instance, I think it reverted back to the computer mic. So I apologize for that. I heard that. I'm like, oh God, that's horrible. So I figured I'd just go live and do the video for you guys live. Let's see what we got. What's up, Doug? Analytics man, thanks for popping in the stream, man. But I'll hang out with you guys for another 20, 30 minutes. I'm live anyway, so might as well. I appreciate you guys for being here. James says, worried about our cornerback. Yeah, dude. I'm really worried about our cornerbacks. I think you should be worried about our cornerback. Well, I don't want to use the term worried. I'm going into the year expecting growing pains. You know what I'm saying, James? I don't want to use the term worried because they're rookies. So, yeah, I guess I'm worried, but it should be expected that they're going to struggle a bit. With a guy like Deonte Banks. Most first-round corners aren't going to just snap their fingers and be like Sauce Gardner. That does not happen. That is very rare that happens. So, yeah, I'm worried, but in a sense, I'm excited because I see the potential with a guy like Deonte Banks, and I do think he is going to be probably the best corner we've had that we've drafted, at least, in a very long time. I mean, of course, Janoris Jenkins gave us a very good year. Of course, we've had a couple of very good years sprinkled in at the cornerback position over the course of the last 10 to 12 years. But we have not really had a consistent 5 to 7 year answer at the cornerback position that we drafted in a very long time. I think Banks is going to be that because I trust his coaching staff. I trust his upside, and I trust his coaching staff to get the most out of his upside. But, yeah, he's going to have growing pains this year. There's no doubt about it. Hawkins is going to have growing pains. The guy was playing at Old Dominion last year. He's a 6th-round pick, but he's got potential. But I think as fans, we got to realize, yeah, they're going to get burnt at times. And we need the pass rush to get home. That's the strength of this team. The front seven, the defensive line, and the pressure off the edge. That's the strength of this team. So to me, that's the key this year. The Leonard Williams of the world, the Dexter Lawrence, the Kayvon Thibodeaux, the Azeez Ojularis, those guys need to get pressure. Wink needs to be able to scheme up pressure. And if we're able to do that, I think you'll be able to hide the secondary a bit, right? You go back to when we won our first Super Bowl with Eli Manning, we didn't have really good corners that year. We didn't. We had veteran plugins. But because we had such a good pass rush, we were able to get by with what we had. So I think that the corners will get better as the year progresses. But, yeah, I mean, if we can't get pressure on the quarterback, they're going to give up big plays. It just comes with it, man. It's the nature of the beast when you start rookies. But I appreciate it, man. Adam says, you see Simmons burst off the line. Yeah. We really might have 3 superstars rushers. Dak's going to go night week 1. I was excited the way that the Giants used Simmons last night. It was really the first time that we got to see how they plan to use him. And I think that's just a taste, by the way. They're going to use him in a lot of different ways. They're going to blitz him up the middle. They're going to drop him back in coverage. He's not a traditional linebacker. He's not going to be a guy like Okereke that you say, go in there, be the Mike, run sideline to sideline. No, he's a guy that you're going to use in a very specific way. With his athletic ability. They're going to try to maximize that, and I believe in this coaching staff to be able to get the most out of him. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with him. But, yeah, he definitely looked good off the edge last night. That's for sure. And with certain packages, you could get creative. You could blitz him up the A-gap, the B-gap, up the middle, off the edge. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they could do with him. Jay says, why didn't Sauce get a call on the hood, on the hold? I think you meant to say on Hyatt. Yeah, that one play – Giants fans are overreacting a little bit. Like, let's calm down a little bit on that one play. And listen, I'm excited as everybody else when you get to see Hyatt's speed. And he did beat him. He had him for about 2 steps. And if Daniel Jones was the quarterback, he probably would have put a better throw. He definitely would have put a better throw on him. But it's one play, and the safety was probably coming over to rock him if you go back and look at the replay. But still a really good play, and he definitely burnt Sauce on that play. And you got to see what the speed could do. Yeah, there was another play. That might be the play you're referring to where Sauce actually had better coverage, where it did appear that he held him a little bit, but it's preseason. It is what it is. There was actually 2 missed calls against the Giants in that game that were horrendous. And if that was a regular season game, I would have flipped out. The first one was the Sills tackle where they did not call it back. It clearly appeared to me that Sills touched his foot. Now, granted, I don't have volume on my television, and people in the chat told me that they said that the guy who came up with the interception did not quite have possession of the ball when Sills touched him. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch that. But to me, that was a huge missed call. And then there was another one that I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was a touchdown I can't remember. There was another really bad missed call that I can't remember. But it's preseason, so I didn't really care too much. Let's see what we got. And Jason Benjamin says Simmons will be playing on the edge. I agree. Like I said, what's up, Authentic? Good to see you, man. Sigma in the chat. What's going on, man? But I agree. I think he's going to be playing off the edge. He's going to be doing a lot of things, but he's essentially probably going to be our third edge rusher. He's going to be our that depth that we've been asking for, but he's also a guy that could do a few different things than just a guy like a Jihad Ward, for example. He could do multiple things. Talking Eco says, which receivers do we keep? Yeah, I just did it. I just did the video. These are the receivers that I see the New York Giants keeping. This is my final 53. So this is based off of, and now it's been confirmed. I made this list before I knew, but it's been confirmed now that Colin Johnson's been cut. It's been confirmed now that Bryce Ford Wheaton is going to start on the IR. And my line of thinking, and again, I did this before I knew that information. So when I made the initial video, I said Wan'Dale may start on the PUP. But if they've already came out with at least that Bryce Ford Wheaton's going to be on the IR, it leads me to believe that they probably would have put Wan'Dale there already if they thought he was going to start on the IR. So even though Wan'Dale, I don't think will play week 1, I think he's probably going to make the initial 53. But we'll see. We're going to find out in 2 short days. But these are my 7. You asked about the wide receivers. I had Slayton, Hodgins, Campbell, Hyatt, Shepard, Beasley, and Robinson. I think Beasley will make it due in large part to the fact that he's similar to Wan'Dale. I think he's going to be used in a similar fashion. What's up, Mizrahi? And I don't think Wan'Dale is going to have an expanded role early on. As Wan'Dale gets healthier, I think Beasley will be eased out of the offense. But I think he's going to be that guy that is going to have the Wan'Dale role before Wan'Dale's ready to go. So those are the 7 that I think are going to make it, especially now that we heard that Colin Johnson's been cut. They could go with 6. Wouldn't shock me if they go with 6. But if Wan'Dale's making the team, I think they definitely go with 7. But we'll see. I thought Wheaton had a good chance, though, based off what I was hearing and what a lot of people were saying before the injury last night due to his special teams prowess. But obviously he's hurt, so he's not going to make the initial 53. Let's see. What's going on, Richard Judge, man? Good to see you, man. Let's see. And I'll show it one more time for anybody that's popping in. That's my final 53. Let me ask the chat. Any things you disagree with there, let me know. Who do you disagree with? The only guy the only area, at least in my opinion, where I could see where maybe you disagree, maybe you think DJ Davidson should make the team and they should have 6 defensive linemen. Maybe you think Shane Lemieux should make the team over a guy like Marcus McKeithen. Maybe you think, who else? Maybe you think we should carry 1 less DB. I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts? Who don't you like? Let's see. DeVito over I think Taylor's making the team, man. I think Taylor's the backup quarterback. Jones making the team. He's not Jalen Hurts. Cut him. That's what I got. What's going on, Raphael, man? Thanks for popping in. It's between Beasley, Crowder, Sills, and Shepard for the final spots. I don't think Sills is making the team. You would have kept Robinson. Well, Robinson's already been cut, so we know he's not making the team. But he did look good last night. But I had this before I heard about that. But he did look good. He had a Bavaro-like run last night. James Robinson's already been cut, Toasty. So if they're going with 4, I think it's going to be Corbin. I'd be surprised if it wasn't, if they're going with 4. They may only go with 3, but we'll see. Take Beasley. He's proven clutch. I think Beasley's making this team, at least to start the year. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. You say Amani Oruwariye is not making the team. He might not. That was I guess that was a bubble guy that I threw on the team. I could see him going either way. Davidson should make it, so you'd go with 60 linemen. Wouldn't be shocked if they do that. I could definitely see them going with 60 linemen. Are you going to do another prediction? Yes, I'm going to do a record prediction before week 1. Probably, I would guess probably like this upcoming Sunday, a week from today. Probably like a week before the start of the season, I'll do a record prediction video and just kind of briefly going over our opponents. And then I plan on having a lot of content, obviously the week of. Cruzon says Sauce told Hyatt yesterday he was smoked twice. There you go. Listen, Hyatt's going to do a lot of smoking. I mean, not many guys run like he does. So for him to be able to get past Sauce, in my opinion, if not the best corner, one of the best corners, says a lot. But he's still rookie. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he could do this year with this team. I want Beasley. I think Beasley's making the team. I don't know if he's going to stick with the team all year, but I think he's making this team. What's up, Word Man? Thanks for popping in. I have us at 9-8 or 8-7. I like it. Get Will Grier and cut. See, this is my argument, and I get it. Taylor does not look good. And Taylor's not very good. He's not at this point in terms of being a starter. I think he's a fine backup. He's a solid backup. Here's the thing. First thing I'll say about Taylor. Second preseason game, Taylor actually looked pretty good for a backup, at least. He looked good. Last night, if you're being fair in the way that you're analyzing Tyrod Taylor as the potential backup for the New York Giants, Tyrod Taylor had a third-string offense going up against one of the best first-team defenses in the NFL. Then DeVito comes in with a third-string offense or fourth-string offense going up against the Jets' threes or twos or whatever. So to me, it's apples and oranges. Tyrod also has a full year's worth of knowledge of the playbook. DeVito does not. And if you were to pick up a guy like Will Grier, he does not. And I think there's value in that. So Tyrod, I think, should be the backup to start the year. But you hope that he never sees the field. Because whether it's DeVito, whether it's Taylor, whether it's Will Grier, whether it's whoever, I think we could all agree at this point that we're done. None of them are close to Daniel Jones. So we need Daniel Jones to stay healthy. But the way I look at Taylor is he's a guy that gives you a better chance to not lose the game than a guy like DeVito or a guy like Will Grier, who have no experience in this offense, who are not veterans. So that's the way I look at it. That's what you want out of your backup. If you are forced to have to play your backup quarterback, you want a guy that's not going to lose you the game. You don't expect him to go out there and throw 3 touchdowns. Just don't lose us the game and hope that the defense and the running game could win it for you. So that's the way I look at it. It's why I think Tyrod will be the backup quarterback. Let's see what we got. And I appreciate that, Miz, man. Thanks for popping in, buddy. Good to see you, man. We need depth right and left tackle. For sure we do. Good to see you, Richard Judge, man. Thanks for popping in. And Peter says, what's the injury with Wandell? Keep up the great work with these bitches. I mean, well, he suffered an ACL injury last year, so he's still recovering from. Well, it seems like he's fully recovered from it. I mean, he's been running routes on the practice squad, but he obviously hasn't partaken in like full contact in a preseason game. I don't think he's going to start week 1 or have much of a role week 1. Yeah, listen, authentic. The way I look at DeVito, and I do think he's played better than I think a lot of people expected, and he's definitely a tough quarterback. But the way that I look at DeVito, I think he's a perfect guy to stash on the practice squad. You name Tyrod Taylor the number 2. You put DeVito on the practice squad, and you hope that he develops over the course of the year, where next year you say, okay, if he develops, if you have more confidence in DeVito, suddenly now that's how you save some money. Now, instead of paying Tyrod Taylor to be your backup quarterback at $6 million a year, you're paying DeVito $800,000. And that allows you to retain a guy like Xavier McKinney, for example, or a Saquon Barkley, that $5 or $6 million in savings. That's the way I look at the situation at the quarterback. But for this year, it's Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's the backup. What's up, Ethel, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. I'm by no means do I have faith that DeVito is going to turn into that too, but I think that's what you hope as a fan. And if not DeVito, they draft a quarterback. You draft a quarterback next year in the 5th round, 6th round. You draft one of these developmental guys. I just don't think the Giants this past year were at the point where they had the luxury of doing that because they had so many holes on this roster. You needed to get depth at other positions. Having a backup quarterback is kind of a luxury. So for me, next year as this team gets better, if you feel DeVito's not the future QB2, you draft the QB2. Round 5, round 6. One of these developmental guys, a guy like DTR, like the Browns did. Something like that. That could be a long-term backup for your football team, and maybe he could mold into something in the future. So that's what I think they'll do if DeVito does not become that. But DeVito to me is clearly not going to be the backup to start the year. Doug says Doug and Stapleton, Trainer, and Dunleavy all predicted Wandell to make. I think he's gonna, because I think Wandell would have already been on. Now that we're getting word that they've put what's his name on the IR, and they put what's his name, Bryce Ford Wheaton. He's on the IR. Now that we've heard that, I think they would have already announced that Wandell's going to be on the IR. I would think. So if he's not going to be on the IR or the PUP, I think he's going to make the 53. I don't think he starts. I don't think he's going to have a role to start the year, because I think he's still going to be eased back in, but I think he makes the team. Let's see. Isaiah Simmons will be a beast by week 5. I'm excited about Isaiah Simmons. Question. I watched some of your Giants rages over the How many headphones have you gone through? Oh, I still have. I keep them as souvenirs. Here's one of them. I think I've gone through 3. This one got it bad. That one got it bad, man. That was I think that was when I this might have been the Tom Brady play on the 2-point conversion. So where I broke my beer, that one got it bad, but that one got it bad. What's up, Isaiah, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. What's going on, man? Tired Giants fan laughing, Dolph laughing. Where's the Daniel Jones one? I think I threw out. That one's gone. That one's gone. Let's see. When do you think Simmons is going to become a starter? I think he's going to get reps right out of the gate, but he's not going to be a starter. But he'll probably be used in a limited capacity as they ease him into the defense. But probably by week 3 or 4, he'll get, if not starters reps, a good, at least maybe 40 to 50% of the defensive snaps. Let's see. Could they put Wandell on the practice squad and call him up in a few weeks? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Wandell is going to make the team. I think that's what I could be wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to make the team. Who apologized for a football take? What's going on, Trinity? Thanks for popping in. Bobby Murphy says, was that from that playoff beating the Birds gave you guys? No, that was from the Tom Brady 2-point conversion where they overturned the 2-point conversion when we played the Bucs. Let's see. Missed the game last night. Who stood out? Last night, I would say Eric Gray stood out. I thought he had his best game. Carter Coughlin stood out. Like, if Carter Coughlin was on the bubble after last night, he's no longer on the bubble. He's making the team. I would say those two guys, in terms of, guys of significance, guys that legitimately could make this team, I thought they stood out probably the most. I mean, none of the starters played. The offensive line was horrific. I would say those two were the biggest standouts for me, at least, in terms of guys that could have a role with this team. I would say Gray, and I would say Carter Coughlin. I thought they had pretty good games. And Hyatt. Hyatt, of course, had the play where he didn't have any catches, but he had the play where he was going up against Sauce Gardner, and he beat him. Let's see. What's your favorite regular season Giants game ever? Oh, wow. My favorite Giants regular season game ever? I always go back to this game, and I could go over many. I could go over I was at the Giants-Packers loss, which is actually my favorite Giants game I've ever been to because it was such a great game in 2011 when we lost 38-35 and Eli Manning played unbelievable. We actually got screwed in that game. We should have won it. There was a couple of missed calls, but we lost. But that was very similar to the Patriots game in 2007 where we lost, I think, by the same score, and then we beat them in the playoffs because it gave us confidence. We destroyed the Packers in the playoffs. But for me, my favorite regular season game, I go back to this game all the time when anybody ever asks me. My favorite one is 2008 against the Baltimore Ravens. Going into that game, the Baltimore Ravens had the best run defense in football, and the Giants had the best run offense, or one of, and they just mowed them down. The Ravens, that's when I knew. When I watched that game, I was at a bar with my friends. When I watched that game, I turned to him. I said, we're winning the Super Bowl. We're going back to back. And of course, Plaque shot himself, and the rest is history. But the Ravens, who were the best at stopping what we were able to do, couldn't stop us. We ran for like 250 yards. We ran it right down their throat. So I always go back to that game because that was really the first time ever since I had been watching the Giants that I felt like we were the best team on the planet. Like we were unstoppable. Obviously, the Super Bowl run was great. And it was unforeseen, and we didn't see it coming. And on the day that we won the Super Bowl, I felt that way. But that was really the first time when I watched that Giants-Ravens game in 2008 where I was like, we are the best team on earth. And there was a 30-game stretch when you go back and look at it. We started 0-2 in 2007. We proceeded to win 10 out of our next 14 regular season games, and of course won 4 straight in the playoffs. So 14-4, and then we started 11-1. During that stretch, the New York Giants were 25-5 over a 30-game stretch. But if you're asking me the one game where it really stood out to me, it's that Ravens game. For me, that I loved that regular season game. Let's see what we got. Cruzon says, don't want Simmons in coverage. Cardinals try. It doesn't look, Cruzon, it does not look like, and maybe they will show him, maybe they will use him in a certain capacity to that extent, but at least based off of last night, and it's still premature because he still hasn't grasped his playbook and everything else, so they may intend to use him in a lot of different other ways. But at least off of last night, it looks like they intend to use him as a pass rusher. And if not exclusively as a pass rusher, certainly that's going to be a big part of the way that they use him because he pretty much was a rusher off the edge every play that they used him in. So he may not be used that much in coverage. We'll see. What's going on, Elvis? Man, thanks for popping in the stream, man. Who do you think will start at the? I think it's who we've thought all along. I think it's going to be Bredesen, and I think it's going to be Glowinski. I think it'll be the 2 veterans to start the year. Andre says Justin Pugh would be a good free agent acquisition. I mean, yeah, for the right price, sure. I don't know if Justin Pugh is going to be wanting to come here and play with the Giants for, peanuts. But yeah, if he's willing to come here and be a backup and be depth, absolutely, I'd be open to bringing Justin Pugh back here. That'd be a great story. Eric says I need answers. What do you need answers for? Eric, are you taking a test right now? If you're taking a test and it's multiple choice, pick D. That's what I always did. I always picked D when I didn't know the answer. Just pick D. You'll get it right, I promise. Do you watch hockey, Tanner? Not often. Occasionally. Let's see. Yeah, we have Cam as an extra down in there on this. Cam's not making this team. If you're talking about Cam Brown, I don't think he's making this team. What's up, V? Christian, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your Sunday. I'll hang out with a little longer, 15, 20 minutes or so. I enjoy hanging out with you guys while I'm live, but at least you got a different experience. You got to see me make a video live. Wide receivers making the team, in your opinion? Yeah, I mean, I'll show it again. This is my opinion. That's it. That's who I think is making the team. Wide receivers: Slayton, Hodgins, Campbell, Hyatt, Shepard, Beasley, and Robinson. That's my final 7 that I think are making the team. That's my final guess. I would be surprised. I mean, they could go 6. So if they go 6, take one of those guys off. But if they go 7, I think those will be the 7 that get the job. What's going on, Bill? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Who starts at quarterback? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I may have to talk to a portion of the fan base who last year thought Tyrod Taylor would start at quarterback. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that, Mike. I'm not sure. I'm slightly leaning Daniel Jones, slightly, but I'm not 100%. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I'm slightly leaning one of the top 10 quarterbacks on the planet. By the way, not scared to say it. I'll puff my chest out when I say it. I'm slightly leaning one of the 10 best quarterbacks on the planet will start for the New York Giants this year. I'll puff my chest out and say that. What's going on, Mar, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. West Coast. Yeah, Bill's on the West Coast. What's up, Aquarius? Beasley over. Yeah, Colin Johnson is already off the team. They cut him. That already came out. He's off the team. What's up, Cash Out, James, man? Let's see. Over, under, 10 sacks for Tibbs. I am going to go. I want to say over, but I'm going to go under just because of the history of the Wink Martindale defense. It's a defense that you get sacks from all over the place. But would I be shocked if Thibodeau gets 10 sacks? Of course not. I think Thibodeau's going to have a huge year. But I'm going to go slightly under. But I think he's going to have a huge year. It's not all about sacks, pressures, hits, everything else. Tana needs to check the film. Check the film? Film only tells you so much. When you have one of the worst offensive lines, film doesn't tell you what the coaching staff is telling Daniel Jones to do. Film doesn't tell you that the coaching staff recognizes that the New York Giants have a horrible weapons, and for all we know, they may have been telling him last year, get the ball out as soon as the first read comes open. We need you to manage the game. We need you not to turn the football over. I'll analyze the film this year when they actually have a more complete roster. Daniel Jones is going to be a top 10 quarterback this year. I'm not scared to say it. I really believe that. I think he's going to have a massive year this year. Let's see. Is Daniel Jones a top 8 quarterback? Listen, I don't care about numbers. Daniel Jones can win a Super Bowl. So you want to label him 8, you want to label him 13, you want to label him 12, whatever you want to label him. Daniel Jones can win a Super Bowl. I'm confident in that if they build the team up. You can't win a Super Bowl with a crappy roster. You build a Super Bowl with, they build him a Super Bowl caliber roster, he can win a Super Bowl. Let's see. Chris, torn ACL. I know. Yeah. Who do you think will start at head coach? Ooh, that's a good one, John. That's a good one. Might be coach of the year. Giants fan says, Giants fan here who works for the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's go, Giants. Good to see you, man. If Nick Foles won a Super, of course. Well, yeah, but to be fair, Nick Foles had, and you're right. I mean, I go over several others. Listen, at the end of the day, the notion that people say that you need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl, look over the course of history. Nick Foles, by the way, had an unbelievable roster. A top 3 defensive line, a top 3 offensive line. Come on. But look over the course of history in the NFL. The elite quarterbacks that have won have been Peyton Manning, who was only elite for one of them. The other one, it was in spite of him. As a matter of fact, Peyton Manning's second Super Bowl, I'll say it right now, Peyton Manning's second Super Bowl might have been the worst starting quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl. That's how bad he was that year. He threw 9 touchdowns, he threw 17 interceptions, and he did not play well in the playoffs. They had an all-world defense. But the only elite quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl in recent history, Brady got like 9, Peyton, 7, of course, Peyton, Aaron Rodgers, and Pat Mahomes. And, I mean, if you go all the way back to the 90s, it's Brett Favre. And maybe I'm forgetting one. Russell Wilson was not elite when he won. He was in his second year. They had the Legion of Boom. They had a great running attack. Ben Roethlisberger was not elite when he won the first time. You want to argue the second time? Maybe. Eli Manning was certainly not elite his first time. You want to argue the second time? I agree with you there. He was elite the second time. But there are several instances where elite teams win Super Bowls with good quarterback play. You can win a Super Bowl with a good quarterback. There's no doubt about it. But you have to build up the team properly. And as a matter of fact, your best chance to beat the Chiefs is to build an elite team. Because I'm going to tell you what, you're not beating Pat Mahomes in a shootout. You're not. Fabian says, Tana, is DJ top 10 with or without Daves? I mean, listen, Fabian, you could say that about almost any quarterback. Look around the league at the greatest quarterbacks in the history of football. Most of them all had great coaching. The greatest quarterback in the histories of right now, Pat Mahomes is the greatest offensive coordinator right now in sport. Bill Walsh with Joe Montana. Bill Belichick with Tom Brady. You go down the list. Most great quarterbacks have great coaching. So to me, that shouldn't be a knock on Daniel Jones. To me, that's just saying, okay, Daniel Jones finally got what he needs to be successful. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that are great without good coaching. Let's see what we got. Brady beat Mahomes in a shootout in the AFC Championship game. It's going to be hard to beat Pat Mahomes in a shootout. Let's put it that way. Josh Allen didn't work. Lamar Jackson didn't work. Deshaun Watson didn't work. Joe Burrow, he beat him once, but it wasn't because of him. It was because of the defense. Held Pat Mahomes scoreless in the entire second half. It's going to be tough. Hurts Hurts nearly beat him. Why? Because he had a much, much better football team. If you give Daniel Jones Hurts' football team, I think he could beat Pat Mahomes. I think he's at least capable of beating Pat Mahomes. If you gave him the roster the Eagles had last year, go back and look at it roster for roster. The Eagles were better at every position outside of the quarterback and the head coach. Every other position, the Eagles were better. They're better on the lines. They're better at the linebacker. Everywhere. They were better. Everywhere. You give Daniel Jones a team where he is better everywhere, but the quarterback, he could beat Pat Mahomes. I believe that. Did someone just say Tom Brady probably the best quarterback ever to be? Let's see. Our play action will be deadly. We need to take advantage. We'll see, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'll take Kelsey over Goddard. Yeah, I'm more so combining the tight end. I look at Kelsey as a wide receiver. I'm combining the weapons. But, yeah, if you want to look at a tight end, you give him the tight end too. To me, Travis Kelsey's a wide receiver. Just like I view Darren Waller as a wide receiver. Let's see what we got. I tried the new 2023 one-chip challenge. I can't wait, Rob, man. Thanks for popping in. And the only quarterback to beat Brady in a shootout in the playoffs is Nick Foles. Yeah. Yeah, that game kind of got out of control. But I think the best way to beat Brady was the way that we beat him. Being able to get pressure on the quarterback, being able to make timely plays with the offense. Neil breakout. Yes, I think Neil's going to have a breakout year this year. I do. Not, what's your term of breakout? Is it he becomes an elite tackle or becomes an average tackle? But for me, if he becomes an average tackle, that's a breakout based off what he did last year. I agree. That's basically what I'm saying, Authentic. The best way to beat Mahomes is to build an elite team. The defense obviously included in that. An elite team, an offense that could beat you multiple ways to be able what the Eagles have. That's how you beat Mahomes. What the Eagles have. A high-end defense and an offense that could beat you both ways. They could run the ball down your throat because they have an incredible offensive line, and they could throw the ball because they have elite weapons. That's the only way you're going to beat Mahomes consistently. Can you get lucky in a one game? Sure, anything can happen in one game. But the recipe to beat Mahomes, you got to have an all-around roster. You have to. Fabian says, question was actually, will he still be top 10 without Daves? To me, that's a silly question because you could say that about, no, he wouldn't be. But you could say that about most quarterbacks. Would Josh Allen have become what he became without Daves? Probably not. Would you could say that about so many quarterbacks. But no, if he didn't have good coaching, no, he wouldn't be a top 10 quarterback. But he does. So that's all I care about. Let's see. Let's see. Are there any road games you want to? I mean, if I was going to pick one, I'd probably pick the Raiders. Yeah, the best way to beat Mahomes is to keep him off the field, and that's with the running game and obviously a strong defense. Yeah, I agree. There are other coaches that could get him in the top 10. I agree. I mean, I love Josh Allen. You know that, Authentic. But coaching matters. Coaching helped him big time. And you saw it last year. Josh Allen last year, he still had a really good year. I'm not knocking Josh Allen. I think he's the second most talented quarterback in the NFL behind Pat Mahomes. Last year, Josh Allen threw 5 red zone interceptions. You know how many red zone interceptions he had in his entire career before last year? It was either 2 or 3. He threw more red zone interceptions last year than he did in his entire career. And if you don't think Daves has something to do with that, because play calling matters a lot when you get inside the 20, I think you're fooling yourself. Coaching matters in the NFL. And let's see what we got. Tana should come to the Giants at Washington in November. That'd be cool. I really like our running game. And now we got some burners too. Neil Bredis and JMS Gawinski. Let's go. I would say half. I think probably half the league, but I think certain coaches are obviously much better than others. I think our coach is better than half the league. I think he's in the top 10 and he's trending upwards. And our overall coaching staff, I think, is probably top 5, top 6. I mean, Wink Martindale is one of the better defensive coordinators. Kafka is a damn good offensive coordinator. So as an overall coaching staff, I think we probably have one of the top, 5 coaching staffs in the NFL. Al, what's going on, man? He says, welcome back, C. I'm 15 minutes behind, but did you forget special teams? 3 slots there. No, I didn't. If you look, Al, and thank you for being here, Al. If you look at my my final 53, it says it right there in the middle. ST, Gano, Kreider, Gillen. So, no, I didn't forget. It's right there. Didn't talk about it that much, but it's there. I mean, it shouldn't have to be said, but it has to be for some people. It has to be. And I think last year, more so than anything else, proved how much it matters. I think it was kind of eye-opening for a lot of people because we've been so used to bad football teams, at least for a major reason was the poor coaching, that when we finally saw what good to great coaching looks like, we saw the impact that it could have on players. Suddenly guys that people thought sucked or were pretty good became good or great, and because coaching elevates players. Let's see what we got. Who will be the first head coach to be fired this season? Ooh, coaches on the hot seat this year. Coaches on the hot seat this year. That's a good question. Let me think from around the league. Let me look at a list of teams, and I will tell you who I think are the coaches on the hot seat this season. I think that's a good question. I like that question. Let's see. Salah's on the hot seat. I'm not saying the Jets are going to be bad, but if the Jets do not make the playoffs, I think Robert Saleh gets fired. Has to get fired if they don't make the playoffs. Has to. So I think Salah's on the hot seat. I think he has pressure. Dolphins, no. Belichick, I still don't think he'll get fired no matter what happens. Tomlin, no. The Steelers make the playoffs every freaking year, or at least finish over 500 every freaking year. Did the Browns have a coaching change, or is Stefanski still? I don't even know. Is Stefanski still the coach with the Browns or not? I feel like I can't remember. Did they make a coaching change? Ravens, no. Jaguars, no. Colts, no. Right? I'm not going to say the Titans either. Vrabel's a good coach, even if they struggle this year. They're kind of in transition. Chargers, big time. Big time. Yeah. The first two teams that I see, Chargers and the Jets. Those two for sure. Rivera with Washington, potentially on the hot seat. I would say those three off the top of my noggin. I would say Washington, Chargers, Jets. Washington, Chargers, Jets. Those three. Let's get back to the chat. And I'm curious to see what the chat say. What did they say? Rivera, Staley, Rivera. Yeah. Washington, Arizona. Well, Arizona just got a new head coach, so not Arizona. They just fired Kingsbury. Rivera. Yeah, Dallas potentially. If Dallas bombs this year, if Dallas were to miss the playoffs, I could see them making a change. McCarthy could be replaced. I could see that. That's not a bad one. But of course, they'd have to miss the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, I don't think he'd get fired. Rivera's definitely in my top three, though, with the other two that I mentioned. Marmar says, could you see Pugh starting over Glowinski? Or no, not this late in the process. Maybe eventually if we were to pick him up, but not to start the year. No, I think the guys we got are who we're going to war with to start the year. A lot of an offensive line has to do with cohesion and playing together. So no. Fabian says, that said, will Philly still be the same with the No. Philly's not going to be as good as they were last year. They're still good. They're still the favorites in the NFC. They're still the favorites in our division. But just the schedule alone, I expect Philly to take a step back this year. They played a soft schedule, kind of like we did last year. And they had no major injuries for the most part. So I see the Eagles winning 10 or 11. I don't think they're going to have 14 wins this year. I'll tell you that right now. They're playing the toughest division in football, the AFC East, the NFC West, much like we are. So, for people that say the Giants are going to win like 9 games, you're probably right. 8, 9, 10 in that range. But I don't think the Eagles are going to be much higher. Maybe 11. I think the NFC East is going to be tight. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be all three teams I could see being between 7 and 11 wins. I think it's going to be a tight division. I really do. We all play a tough schedule. Let's see. Dak is going to be better than people are thinking, though. I think Dak could have a good year. I don't think Dak is garbage. I think he could have a good year. I don't necessarily think he's going to be the long-term answer there. I could see them looking to replace him within 2 or 3 years, but I think that could have a good year. I think what Dallas is going to do this year, they're going to scale it back. They're not going to be the type of offense they were with Kellen Moore, but I think that plays better to what the strengths on that roster are. They're clearly still going to throw the ball. I'm not saying they're going to just be like ultra run happy, but I think they're going to be more balanced than they've been in the past. And I actually think that plays better to Dak. You'll see less interceptions. That's what they should do. When you have a team built like the Dallas Cowboys have, you have a top 5 defense. You have a great pass rush. You have a good running back. You have a very good to great offensive line. Dallas should be a more balanced team. And I think that's what they will do. I think they will be more balanced this year. So that's what I predict. And in that, I do think Dak will not turn the ball over as much. And they will probably be more competitive against good teams because of it. But we'll see. I still think we're picking them off week 1. And Zeke, what's going on, man? Good move with Ford Wheaton going on the IR. I'm not saying the ACL isn't legit, but he wouldn't last in the practice squad. I think we did the same thing with Cruz and his hammy. Yeah, that's a good. I think he's legitimately hurt, but in a way, it's almost a blessing in disguise if it's not a super serious injury, which hopefully it's not. that you're able to just stash him and he doesn't have to take up a spot on the 53-man roster. So it worked out in that way because somebody may have snatched him up. So that's a positive way to look at it. Let's see. Yeah, I agree with this. Dak is certainly not trash. Dak's a good to very good quarter. He's a good. I'm not even going to call him very good. He's an above average starting quarterback. Who was put in an incredible situation. And I think what Dak has proven is he could beat up on really bad teams, which good quarterbacks do. And when he plays other quarterbacks that are good or very good, that are in good to very good situations, he usually comes up short. That's what I think Dak is. And that's not a bad thing. He's like Kirk Cousins. He's that type of quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Good quarterback. Let's see. I could see 10 coaching. That's a lot, amazing. I don't know about all that. Yeah, Dallas traded for Trey Lance. They gave up a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance. I don't know how much that means, but maybe it adds a little bit more pressure for Dak. But Dak's the clear starter this year, and maybe Dallas feels like they could turn Trey Lance into something. As I said on Twitter, I'm not going to rule it out. I actually like Trey Lance. Go back, watch my draft reaction. When the Niners traded up for Trey Lance, I said, wow, that was the right pick. And obviously I look wrong now. It was a horrible pick. At least for the 49ers. Doesn't mean he won't turn out to be a good player, but for the 49ers, obviously it was a horrible pick. You gave up 3 first-round picks. You ended up trading the guy for a 4th-round pick 3 years later. So it was a horrible pick. But I did see the raw traits in him. I see the potential in him. So for the Dallas Cowboys, I feel like they're throwing a dart at a board. You're giving up a 4th-round pick, and the way that you say to yourself is, well, if he ends up being a good backup for us, it might be worth a 4th-round pick for a couple of years. So to me, you're throwing a dart at the board. You're hoping you strike it big, and if you don't, you only give up a 4th-round pick to have a quality backup. It's not a bad trade. I'm just not scared. I don't think he's going to become a great quarterback suddenly. And Bob, see, but authentic. I get your point there, but I thought San Francisco had the team that allowed him to be a project, like the Chiefs did. The Chiefs drafted Pat Mahomes when they were a win-now team. They were constantly winning the West, or at least going to the playoffs, and they had a really good team. I think they were the number 1 seed in the AFC West, in the AFC, or number 2 seed maybe the year they drafted Mahomes. They had a really good team, and they had a perfect situation. They had Alex Smith. He could sit and learn behind him for, at the time, they probably planned at least a year, if not 2. They obviously made the change after 1 year. And I viewed San Francisco the same way. They had Jimmy Garoppolo. They had a really good team. He could sit and learn behind Jimmy for a year, and then he transitions into the role. That's the way I looked at it. So I viewed it as a spot where he could really grow and transition. He got hurt. Didn't work out. Purdy got a chance. He took over. Let's see what we got. Bob says, according to Big Blue Interactive, Wheaton tore his ACL out for the year. But yeah, I know. I heard he's put on the IR. So if it's a legitimate torn ACL, of course, that's horrible. Let's see. I feel Mac Jones could go there and likely look really good. Any quarterback that doesn't suck is going to look decent on that Niner team. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think it's a great situation, but Purdy's taking advantage of it, so good for him. Either way, authentic, they both went to teams that were winning, and they had a system in place where they had a veteran quarterback that there was no pressure for them to have to start. That's my overall point. If you go to a team that made the playoffs, that won 12 games the year before, the fan base is not going to be like, you have to start this guy year 1. No, they're going to be like, no, we expect to go to the playoffs, start Jimmy another year, start Alex Smith another year, and then you could let him grow. That's why I thought it was a really good fit. Didn't work. Let's see. Brock Purdy will ever winning the 49ers Super Bowl. He could. I mean, they have the team to be able to do it. Mike says releasing these guys from the 53-man roster will open up cap, I guess. Does that count? Yeah, it counts. I mean, if they were to cut, the guy that will save them the most cap is Darnay Holmes. If they cut Darnay Holmes, that'll save them the most. I think they're going to do a restructure with Holmes. I think he's going to make the team. They're going to do a restructure. But if they were to cut him, it would save $2.75 million. Chris, is Jason Peters still a free agent? I don't know. He's done at this point. What's going on, JD, man? Thanks for popping in. Chris, what's up, man? Was not expecting a stream. Yeah, no, I actually, the only reason I did a stream, and I'm hanging out a little bit after, but I made a video and it completely screwed up the audio. So I'm like, all right, let me just make sure it's not my mic. Let me go live and just do the video live. So if you want the experience of being able to see the video live, just go back and watch the stream from the beginning. One take, one shot. You get to see how I typically make my videos. Stella Raven says, thoughts on Jimmy Garoppolo? I think Jimmy Garoppolo is underrated. I think he's a little bit underrated, but I still don't think he's very good, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people seem to just rag on Jimmy Garoppolo, and they don't give him the credit that they give other quarterbacks that I view are in a very similar class. They don't view him as equals. Like, they just rag on Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a little bit underrated. Again, he's not a guy that I would want. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. But the proof's in the pudding. The guy proved he's a difference maker with the 49ers. When he got hurt, they lost at like every game he didn't play. And when he played, they went to like 3 NFC title games and a Super Bowl. He's obviously a quarterback with limitations, but I think he's a solid starting quarterback. I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be. That's where I would have him. I think Daniel Jones is better, but I think he's a solid starting quarterback. Yes, I will do a record prediction video, Kressel. Yes. No, I'll disagree with that. I think Jimmy G is better than Mac Jones. But I've never been a fan of Mac Jones. Was not a fan of Mac Jones after he was drafted by the Patriots. And people, look, Mac Jones had a good rookie year. Didn't look good last year. I've never been a fan of Mac Jones. I think Jimmy G is better than Mac Jones. What's Joe Shane's next move? I think Joe Shane's next move is, I think he's going to add depth on the line. I think they're going to make another add on the line. I don't know if it'll be a guard or a tackle. And I think he'll add one piece to the defense, probably off the edge. But I don't know, because Simmons is kind of that depth edge at this point. I think he's going to make one add to the offense and one add to the defense. I think the offensive add will be on the line. I think the defensive add it could be in coverage, but I'm leaning it'll be off the edge, if I had to guess. Who wins the AFC East? Good question. It's probably the best division in the sport this year. Hot take, Giants fans don't want to hear this. I'm buying in. I'm picking the Jets. I'm picking the Jets to win the AFC East. It's my honest pick. I'm picking the Jets. I have a feeling the Bills are going to take a little bit of a step back this year. I really do. I know everybody's picking the Bills. I think the Bills make the playoffs. I don't know. I think I'm slightly leaning the Jets in the AFC East. I think I'm going Jets, Bills, Miami in that order. But it could be the Miami. It could be the Bills. Obviously, the Bills are the favorite. But that's the way I see it playing out, man. It's my pick. That's my pick. Call it crazy. That's my pick. Let's see. JD says, I just choked my drink. Call it a hot take, man. I'm picking the Jets to win that AFC East. Let's see. I think Darnay gets cut because Simmons and McLeod provide depth. He certainly could. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets cut. Banking that Miami stays healthy. Miami could certainly win the division too. Obviously, last year when Tua got hurt, that team kind of fell apart a bit. So, it could. What's up, Lionheart? He says, Entertainment. What do you think of Plaxico's comments with Murray and Daniel Jones? I mean, listen, he's entitled to his opinion. I disagree with him. But here's what I'll say. I could at least understand where Plaxico's coming from. I think the way that Plaxico is analyzing, he said first off, when you listen to the clip, he says it's based off stats, based off production. And he's probably also basing it off of strictly talent and nothing else. But when I factor everything in, I'm taking Daniel Jones. If there was a redraft today and you gave me the option of Kyler Murray or Daniel Jones, and I know Daniel Jones, Here's a big thing for me. Work ethic is a huge thing for me when it comes to the quarterback position. The greatest quarterback in the history of football is Tom Brady, and he's not the greatest quarterback in the history of football because he was the most talented. He's the greatest quarterback in football because of how much that guy worked. One quarterback has a provision in his contract that he has to watch a certain amount of film every week. The other guy, they can't keep him out of the building because of how hard he works. And I look at Daniel Jones' talent, and while it may not be quite as good as Kyler Murray's in terms of his physical ability, it's close enough. And when I couple it with the work ethic and the way that I think he's ascending, now that he finally has stability, I would take Daniel Jones every time if I was doing a redraft. I wouldn't think twice about it. I would take him every freaking time. Let's see what we got. Let's see. Starting DJ in my money. I have DJ in a keeper league, a 2-quarterback league. So I'm starting him. He's gonna be one of my 2 starters this year in fantasy. And my it's gonna be on Saturday, my draft. So I already know I got Daniel Jones on my roster. Especially in the NFL, Mr. Mini Guy. At the end of the day, in the NFL, everybody's talented. Everybody's talented in the NFL. The guys who work the hardest usually get the best results. Yeah, he got hurt last night during the game, Gotti. I didn't honestly, I didn't see, they didn't really show it. Or at least if they did, I was paying attention to my chat. But I heard it during the live stream from my chat that he got hurt. I didn't know the severity of the injury during the game, though. Thoughts on the Rams? The Rams situation is interesting to me. They are one of the tougher teams for me to feel, to get a feel for before the year starts. I'm not a huge fan of the Rams this year. I think their ceiling, if everything plays out right, if Stafford reverts back to what he was before the injury last year, Kupp stays healthy, Donald stays healthy, I think their ceiling is still probably around 10 wins just because of the division they play in. Obviously, you got to give the Seahawks some respect and obviously the 49ers. So I don't view them as a Super Bowl threat, but I could see them getting back to the playoffs. I could see them being a sneaky team to get back to the playoffs. I don't view them being a Super Bowl threat, or I could see them completely bombing and being like a 5 or 6 win team. Bob, thank you very much, man. Oh, Tana, need some advice. I have the number 1 pick in fantasy draft is between Jefferson and Kelsey. Ooh, wow. Let me hold on. I'm assuming it's a PPR league. If you're taking one of those 2 guys early. If it was me, I wouldn't take Kelsey 1 because I think you could get value at the tight end spot. Not quite as good as him, of course, but I think you could get value at the tight end spot in like round 6 and 7. There's 5 or 6 really good tight ends. TJ Hawkinson, of course, Darren Waller, Andrews. So there's several good tight ends that I think you could get maybe four rounds later that could at least put up similar production if they could stay healthy. So for me, it's either personally, if you're asking me who I would take if I had the first pick, it's either Jefferson or McCaffrey, actually. But McCaffrey's probably too much of a risk. But he could give you like wide receiver production at the running back spot if he stays healthy, especially in that San Francisco offense. So I'd be intrigued by it. But I think I would go with Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson's the safer pick. So I think I would go with Justin Jefferson. All right, be good, authentic. Keith says, wouldn't be surprised if we look at bringing another running back in, nothing dynamic behind Saquon. I don't think we will. I think they project Gray to get more of a role as the year goes along. Breed is a solid running back. I don't think we will. I think there's other needs on this team before running back that we have to worry about in terms of depth. Our second best running back, Keith, if we're being honest, is our quarterback. That counts. I've said it several times, man. I think we have the best running duo in the NFL between Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. I mean, both of them were top 5 in rushing at their position last year. So that's the way I look at it. Kelsey's not getting younger. I love Kelsey. He's great, but yeah, I don't think I would take him first. If I had the third or fourth pick, I might take him, but I wouldn't take him first. Do you think the Rams could trade Donald for a first and second? No, not at his age. No, I don't think they could. I don't know. That's without me knowing the contract details and everything else, but no, I don't think they could get that for him because of his age and what I assume is a high contract. McCaffrey is the best running back and isn't even close. He's definitely the best fantasy running back if he could stay healthy this year, especially in the system that he's playing in with San Francisco. Marmar says, I see Hyatt getting more and more involved in the offense as the year progresses. Yeah, I mean, that's all our rookies, but Hyatt's included in that. Yes, I agree. I think the clear top three when the year starts is the clear top three everybody's been saying, and that's obviously Paris Campbell, that's obviously Darius Slayton, and that's obviously Isaiah Hodgins. But as the year progresses, I agree. I think Hyatt will get more of a role. Has DJ learned to slide? I think he got better at it last year. It's still not as natural as it is with other quarterbacks, and it's never going to be. A guy like Kyler Murray, for example, has baseball in his background, right? Russell Wilson, same thing, right? He signed a contract with the Yankees. Those guys are good at, naturally at sliding. Jones is never going to be that. But as long as he gets better, as long as he knows when not to take a hit, I think he's gotten better. He's still not maybe where you want to be, but he's definitely gotten better in that aspect. That's awesome, man. Congratulations, Adele. Donald wants to retire too. McVay and other players had to give it. I don't think you'd be able to fetch that much for him. Just based off of, not because he's not an incredible player, he is, but how are the 49ers so good yet they whiffed on so many high picks recently? The 49ers are so good because the same thing with the Jets. Well, how are the Jets so good, right? They whiffed on their quarterback pick. Well, they're not so good yet. They got to prove it. But the 49ers were able to build they draft incredibly well in the later rounds. Fred Warner. Bosa was obviously an early pick, but they hit on him. The McCaffrey trade, that obviously helped them out. But Debo, I think Debo was a second-round pick. I think Ayuk was a second-round pick. Maybe he was a late first-round pick. Kittle was a fifth-round pick, right? So they were able to build their team through the draft, and even if they missed on some of their first-round picks, they were able to hit on guys in day 2 and 3. Well, Bosa certainly wasn't a whiff. They obviously missed on Trey Lance. I feel like they missed on another first-round pick too. But they've drafted really well in day 2 and day 3. That's how. Bosa was kind of a no-brainer, though, obviously, with I think, what was it, the first pick or the second pick? I can't even remember. I think it was it was the second pick because Kyler Murray went first. If you can't draft, you're not going to be a good GM. Yeah, of course. Day 2 and day 3 is where you win championships. Name a dream starting defensive line using past and present. Are we talking New York Giants specific, or are we talking just in general, ever? If you're talking ever, I think you got Taylor, technically a pass rusher. If we're talking, I'll put edge rushers, the pass rushers, Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor. And then in the middle, Aaron Donald. And who's the other D tackle we're going to throw in there? Aaron Donald, and I'll let the chat help me with this. Who's the New York Giants specific? Of course, Taylor, even though he's an edge. I'm going to count him. Taylor, Strahan as your pass rushers. And interior, I'm going to go Hamilton was good, man. Maybe Dex and Hamilton? Xavier says, do you think we'll make it in the third round? Do you think we'll make it in the third round in the playoffs? That's way too hard for me to. Well, Tuck's a DN, though. I took Strahan over him. But, yeah, Tuck needs to be included in consideration. He was great. Justin Tuck's my second favorite Giant of all time behind Eli Manning. Do you think we'll make it in the third round? Xavier, that's impossible for me to say. It depends on who we play. Do we get a favorable playoff matchup? It's entirely possible. Do we end up playing the Niners round 1? Do we end up playing the Eagles round 1? So it's kind of how it develops before I could really answer that. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, it's possible. It's certainly possible. Last year, we were a win away from going to the NFC Championship game. We ran into a buzzsaw, a well-rested Eagles team who was just better than us on paper. So is it possible? Yeah. If you make the playoffs, you have a chance to advance, especially when you have a well-coached team. I forgot Danny Shelton, yeah. What's up, DJ Yonder, man? Thanks for popping in. But guys, yeah, I just want to do the video. I just hung out because we got people in the chat, and I wanted to talk to you guys because I don't do these that often. But I wanted to give you guys a chance to actually hear the video since the volume got completely messed up when I listened to it back. So I apologize about that. But yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day. I will have a video. Maybe I'll go live for that after work on Tuesday because we're gonna get the final roster. I'm hoping by 4:35, whatever it may be. So maybe I'll go live for that. Talk about the final roster with you guys on Tuesday, and then we're gonna have a lot of football coming up, man. Xavier says, thank you. Love your channel. I appreciate it, Xavier, man. Thanks so much for being here, buddy. Oh, Maddie, dude. Thank you so much, man. He says, starting offense, defense, and special teams using former. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Wow. Okay. Let me try my best. I got to go Eli at quarterback. I got to go Tiki at running back. As much as I love Saquon's endured some injuries. And in terms of a talent, you could certainly say Saquon, but Tiki was incredible. I think not enough fans recognize that. The guy had like over 2,000 scrimmage yards 3 straight years. He was a great pass catcher as well as a running back. You have to go Tiki, I think, all time with the Giants. Tight end is Bavaro. Has to be Bavaro. Wide receiver, we'll go 3. You have to go Toomer. He's the all-time leader in every category for the Giants at the wide receiver position. You could certainly say he accumulated stats, but he was always very good. And I think it's a crime that the guy was never elected to a Pro Bowl. He was always very good. And he went to 2 different Super Bowls with the Giants when he was their number one. Well, no, Plax was the number 1 wide receiver the second time. But regardless, he was a very good wide receiver for the Giants. So Toomer's there. He's in the top 3. Plax has got to be in the top 3. He's got to be. I know he shot himself in the foot, but Plax, he changed. Plax was as responsible as anybody else for the upbringing of Eli Manning. He was that safety valve. He's that guy. He was what we hope Darren Waller becomes for Daniel Jones. He was the guy that allowed him to grow as a quarterback. And he was incredible. He was a matchup nightmare. And to this day, I still say it. He had the single greatest performance I've ever seen a wide receiver have in the NFC title game against the Green Bay Packers. So I have to go Plax. And then, I mean, if you're talking talent, you have to go Odell. But if you're talking in terms of accomplishment as a Giants, you could certainly argue Victor Cruz. I think Cruz had the single greatest season in New York Giants history when you include the playoffs. The guy he was incredible. He was one of the 3 most important players on that Super Bowl team. He undressed the 49ers in the first half of that playoff game in the NFC Championship game. So I have to go Beckham because Cruz was too short-lived. So I think I would go Toomer, I would go Plax, and I would go Beckham. With honorable mentions of Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz. But if we're talking a singular season, I'm going Victor Cruz. It's the greatest season ever by a New York Giant at the wide receiver position. Offensive line, just give, and I don't go back all the way to the 80s. So just give me, because to me, the offensive line, it's more so of a unit than individuals. Just give me the 2008, not even the 2007. The 2007 offensive line was great. Give me the 2008 offensive line for the New York Giants because collectively as a unit, they were unbelievable. Unbelievable. The best offensive line in football. So I just want to keep them intact. As much as I love Andrew Thomas, I'm not making any changes to that offensive line. Give me the 2008 offensive line. Give me Eli Manning. Give me Bavaro. Give me Toomer. Give me Beckham. And give me Plax. That's my starting offense. Defense, okay, let me think about this one because I don't want to miss anybody. Hold on. I'm going to look over a couple of the older teams because I don't want to miss anybody. Defense, Strahan's obviously on the defensive line. He's a defensive end. That goes without saying. We're going to put Taylor's one. We'll do 3-4. Should we do 3-4, 4-3? Outside linebacker is obviously Lawrence Taylor. Defensive end is obviously Michael Strahan. I'm going to put Tuck on there. Tuck was too important of a Giant for me. I'm going to put him on the defensive line. I'm going to put Tuck. I'm going to put Strahan. I'm going to put Lawrence Taylor. I'm going to put Carl Banks on my other outside linebacker. You got to put Carson's in there. And I will put, who's the other linebacker going to be? Is it going to be Antonio Pierce? What does the chat think? Who's the fourth linebacker? Is it going to be Antonio Pierce? Jesse Armstead. Oh. There's too many good ones, man. And then you got Keith Hamilton on the defensive line to play the interior. Dexter Lawrence, like I said, I think he's emerging to potentially be a part of that all-time team on the interior. O.C. Minora needs to be mentioned as a candidate because he was so good. J.C. Pierre-Paul needs to be mentioned as a candidate. He was incredible. Still to this day, one of the 2 or 3 best individual, since I've been watching the team, individual defensive seasons I've ever seen a Giant have. So he needs to at least be mentioned as an honorable mention. In the secondary, Jason Seahorn, I think, has to get one of the starting corner spots. He was really good for at least a 4 or 5 year stretch. Antro Roll. I think Antro Roll gets one of the safety spots. What does the chat think? I think I go Seahorn at a corner. I think I go Antro Roll at a safety. We haven't had a lot of good corners. We just haven't. DRC was good. Collins, you guys have mentioned some tough ones. I might have to make a video on this. It's a really good topic, man. That's a really good topic. The secondary is much harder than the pass rush because the Giants have always been known for their front seven. Leonard Marshall, Gary Reasons. Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm going to make a video on that. I like that topic, Matt. Jack Rabbit, again, it was short-lived. Corey Webster's a good one, Hammond. Corey Webster, to me, one of the most underrated Giants of all time. And he caught Brett Favre's last pass as a Packer, Corey Webster. Yeah. So many good Giants. I love those teams. So many good Giants, man. Yeah, he picked off Favre. Let me just take I think I had one more. I just want to make sure I read it. Anthony says, can't wait to see this offense get rolling with Hyatt and Slayton stretching out the field. It's going to be open for so much field underneath for Waller. Yeah, I listen. One thing that this offense certainly has is speed. It's speed for sure, right? Whether it be Paris Campbell, whether it be Slayton, whether it be Hyatt, whether it be Waller at the tight end spot, Barkley, there is speed all over this roster. Special team, kick return has got to be Dave Meggett. It's got to be Dave Meggett, Matt. And then the punter, I'm going Fiegels. I'm going Jeff friggin' Fiegels. Jeff Fiegels was incredible. Now, again, I don't go back to the 80s Giants, so maybe there's a better punter somebody's going to tell me. But Jeff Fiegels was Lendetta. Lendetta was really good, too. But Jeff Fiegels was awesome. He was great at pinning people inside the 20. I forgot about Lendetta. Gano needs to be on there. Gano's been incredible for the Giants since he's been here. But, yeah, Lendetta, he was a good one, too. So, Meggett's got to be in terms of the kick or punt returner. And Xavier says, what are your thoughts overall for our Giants this season? I think we're a really good team. And Diassi, by the way, is the long snapper. Played for the team forever. I think we're a really good team, but I also think we're playing a really tough schedule. So I think we're a team that kind of fits the mold of between 8 to 10 wins. But I think we're a much better team than last year. I could see us losing more games this year and being a much better team because we play a really tough schedule. But the schedule changes over time. I'm not going to read too much into the schedule because what a team looks like now, they may not look like that by week 10. I think we got a really good coach, and I think people that are downplaying and laughing and saying we'll only win 5 or 6 games this year because we had a fluky schedule last year is not taking the coaching enough into account. Having the better coach is very important in the NFL. A lot of times it makes the difference between winning and losing, even if you don't have quite the amount of talent. So I think this team's going to find a way to win at least 8 games. outside of, obviously awful injuries. So I have us at 9 or 10 personally, but we'll see. It's a tough schedule. I'm not going to downplay that. Can you discuss the matchup between the Cowboys at each side? Like, who is the upper hand? Oh, I mean, listen, the Cowboys have most of the upper hands, if we're being honest. In terms of just strictly talent, the Cowboys have the better offensive line. D-line's probably a push. They have a really good pass rush. So probably we have a really good D-line too. So that's probably a push. Weapons are probably close to a push. I'd say it's close to a push. I think our weapons are on par with theirs. I mean, Pollard and Barkley, I'd give the slight edge to Barkley. Pollard's really good, but I definitely give the edge to Barkley. Their number one weapon is CeeDee Lamb versus Waller. Probably a slight edge to CeeDee, but it's really close. So I would say we're at least on par in terms of the weapons. They have better corners. They have a huge edge at corner, at least right now. We're unproven there. So linebackers close, but overall they're a better team on paper. They have more talent. I think Daniel Jones is better. If you're asking me who I would take right now, if all things were equal, I would take Daniel Jones over Dak. But they're close. It's going to come down to coaching. If the Giants are going to win that game, it's going to come down to coaching. And Evan Neal can't get obliterated like he did last year. He's got to stand tall. He can't get obliterated like he did last year. And the pass rush has to get home. Let's see what we got. Chris, well, I agree with you about our offense stretching the field. I expect a lot of crosser route. I agree with that. I think Bellinger is going to be more involved than people think. What's up, Roman? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. But, guys, I am going to close it out now. I am hungry. But I appreciate all you guys. Just wanted to go live today and do that when I saw that the video didn't upload properly. So I wanted to make it a point to make that video. I'll be live on Tuesday for sure once the roster becomes official, and we'll talk about that. I'm sure that there's going to be some shockers or maybe at least slight shocks that we want to talk about going into the season. We'll all get pumped up for football. But I appreciate all you guys. Thank you guys for the incredible generosity. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up. And let's go Giants. Xavier says we're going to the Super Bowl. I love you. I love you. Oh, look at did you super chat, Sebastian? Hold on. Let me find it if you did. I didn't mean to miss it. Hold on. Just type it again if I missed it, Sebastian. Oh, Anthony. I might have missed this. No, I didn't. I got that one. Oh, there you are. Sorry, Sebastian. I didn't mean to miss that. There's so many bandwagon Eagles fans this year. It's absurd. Keep your dander feathers away from me. I mean, that's what happens, Sebastian. I love when we get bandwagon fans because that means your team's doing good. People don't jump on bandwagons if the team's bad. So that's what happens. The Eagles were really good last year. They've been really good in recent history. You're going to get a lot of bandwagon fans. It's a lot easier to come on here, talk about your team when they're winning Super Bowls or going to Super Bowls than when the Giants have been the way they've been. So you're going to get that. You're going to get more hype. You're going to get more fans. We'll knock them down a peg or two. We'll knock them off this year. But thank you guys, man. I appreciate all you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day. Let's go Giants, all right?